We have several very important news stories about Tesla to report today. First, Elon Musk has confirmed that a new version of FSD 12.4 is being launched to internal testing. They needed to work on keeping safety high as they increase ride comfort. Is this delay a big deal? Second, the robotaxi company Cruise has now hired a new CEO and new executive team. What a choice, though, as he comes from a questionable background. Third, there's video now of the construction progress in Giga Texas for Tesla's massive GPU data center. I've got Brian White joining me today. He loves videos of factories. He stares at them all day long, right, Brian?
It sounds silly, but it is absolutely true.
I knew you'd love this one. But thank you, Brian. He has his own YouTube channel, and he does, again, deep dives on factories and vehicles, and we'll get your opinion on these three topics. So the first one is, actually, the three topics are kind of related all to FSD. So the first one is, we're all waiting for version 12.4 to come, and it certainly is now delayed. And so Omar came out and said, from now on, I'm on a hunger strike until FSD 12.4 is released to the people. Elon replied to him saying that 12.4.2 is much smoother. So clearly they were thinking they were going to release 12.4, but then they had to do 12.1 and 0.2. And he said the reason is the challenges is keeping the safety high while increasing ride comfort. So there seems to be this, this inverse relationship, when as you introduce new features, neural net, everything's retrained, and they need to keep retraining it to make sure that it keeps the safety high. Build moves to internal testing tomorrow. So he's announced that it's coming already tomorrow. Then he also replied saying, yeah, we just need to confirm there are no safety regressions. So what's your thinking?
Everybody wants something different. And most disengagements that I have are not because the car's done something that's unsafe. It's because I wish to drive in a different manner. And that's definitely the case with the interventions. I want you to go a little faster. I'm going to initiate a lane change, whatever it is. If you look at New York City cabbies, they drive in a way that you would never permit a robot to drive. They're safe, but it doesn't feel safe. So I can understand trying to strike that balance between safety and comfort. And it is a tricky one. Some people say, boy, that hopped off the line a little quicker than I would have. Yes, but it was safe. And when Omar says we're going on hunger strike until it comes out, if Elon's response is to make us want it even more, you're going to starve the man. Don't do it. It's just not worth it. But there is a lot of work to go. Validating something that is end-to-end neural net, it's not like when I write 5 lines of code and then I test it. I know what all 5 lines are. When it's an end-to-end neural net, you don't know what the lines of code are. You have to deduce them from the outside, which can take longer, especially with edge cases.
So Brian, what's your feeling about it's delayed, right? So 12.4 is supposed to come out now. It's the end of June. It's now going to look like be distributed to us, to the public here by July now. And then that pushes everything, 12.5, 12.6. And the way that if you calculate how many days it took for 12.4 to come out, it's looking like that we're not anymore expecting 12.5 by August 8th even. What's your thinking about the delay?
It is entirely possible that while 12.4 is validating, they're still crunching 12.5. It could be that additional training is taking place every second of every day behind the scenes that we just don't see, and that they are working a version ahead while validating this one. So I think 12.5 by August 8th is still perfectly likely.
Okay. James Thalma did reply to this conversation. He said that, somebody was saying, well, why don't they just skip 12.4? Go right to 12.5 because they have confirmed that they're already working at 12.5 and 12.6. James said, you can't do that. You need to work on 12.4 and then it all kind of rolls together. But I think what you just said makes sense, which is anything they do to 12.4, it rolls into 12.5. It's all part of it, but yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah. Okay. So that's 12.4. It's now going to internal testing. That would be employees. And then we are expecting it pretty soon. So normally after they roll out to internal testing, it's actually fast unless they found an issue, which is what they look like they did. And now they're back. So that's the first story. Looks like FSD's out. The second one is about Cruise. So you've got Cruise, which is a robotaxi network that's been activated in San Francisco. They had to pause for a while because they actually had a pedestrian, been run over. And that was on the news quite a bit. But so now Cruise hired a new CEO, is now in charge. This guy named Marc Whitten is going to lead Cruise as CEO. Grant Dixon is now a new person that's going to succeed Craig Gilden as a leader of GM's legal and public policy efforts. As Glidden focuses on Cruise. So, I don't know which one is which.
I think they just Googled a stock image of a generic CEO, or just used a chat GPT to make these are all grok images of generic CEOs. You never know with Cruise. It's deeply unfortunate that the pedestrian who was struck and killed, it wasn't Cruise's fault. The Cruise did not initially hit the pedestrian. The pedestrian was knocked into the way of the vehicle, and it made Cruise, it gave Cruise undue visibility. Cruise did react to the collision in a way that a human would not have, but it was an edge case of an edge case, and it's deeply unfortunate. But what it did was peel back the curtain a little and showed us how Cruise is actually operating with mechanical guidance from humans behind the scenes in a way that does not inspire confidence, and certainly explain some of the behaviors we've seen, like it getting stuck at an intersection, waiting a minute, 2 minutes, and then it goes ahead. That was the time it took for a human to actually intervene. I don't know. That's not scalable. It's very difficult to scale something like that. And then it makes the time between interventions that much more critical, because it means one human might be overseeing 10 cars versus 10,000 cars. So it's unfortunate. I think they had to shuffle the board around, the principles around. But I don't have, it's just unfortunate. And hopefully this is the start of a new chapter, because autonomy is going to save a lot of lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. So a lot of people don't know what you just said, which is Cruise. We found out because of that pedestrian accident that every 2 or 3 minutes, they actually have a person that's a teleoperation comes in, even though you don't see anybody in the car, they take over the car using a joystick. And so people thought, oh, I'm coming into this incredible robotaxi experience. And they go, I love it. But actually, there was a human that was driving it.
So it's less a joystick and more of a path determination. So they'll come into it and just like tap, go that direction, and then it resumes. Or if they pop in and they see traffic cones, they might I assume have the ability to rewind a half a block and see what led them there and how to get out of it in ways that the computers are not yet able to determine on their own. So it's not quite like it's a someone with an Xbox controller, although it could very well be that too. But if it's every 2-3 miles, which is what it appears it was, that's not good. That explains the very deep losses that we've seen from Cruise and Waymo, because we know Waymo has that a bit as well. I saw an interview with a gentleman who was stuck. His Waymo was pulling out of a garage and it just stopped. It's just done. I'm going to park right here. And he had to press the button to get someone to intervene. And they said, give us 3 minutes. And a physical human being showed up, got in the car, said, hello, I'm from Waymo. I'm getting you out of here. And you can't do that in a real entire open world, because you might be an hour from the nearest tech. So there's scaling issues in both of those scenarios.
Okay. When you're talking about Xbox, this is the funny thing. This Marc Whitten, who's the new CEO of Cruise, he formerly came from Amazon and Microsoft's Xbox video game platform. He's going to be the new CEO. And like we were talking about the October crash involving one of its vehicles. So Whitten will begin in the role in July. The company said Whitten brings years of experience, including a founding engineer at Xbox and Xbox Live. And at Amazon, he was vice president working on apps and services like the Fire TV and Kindle. He's also worked as chief product officer at Sonos, specialized in wireless home audio. And he worked as a chief product and technology officer on artificial intelligence and 3D tech that powers games and apps. So he succeeds Kyle Voigt, who's the founder of Cruise, who resigned in November after that big accident. So, what do you think about his background? I mean, why did they bring somebody who comes from, products, Xbox, Fire TV, Kindle, wireless home systems? Why this guy?
Well, I think it's a perfect fit. These are deeply integrated software hardware marriages that where you're not just developing software, you're developing integrated software that has to have its own special equipment. I think all of those are good examples. I don't know as much about Sonos. uh, Unity is a graphics engine, so that might be a competency in allowing it to model space better or understand the space it's in. Yeah, I think all of those are good. You could argue, well, Xbox is the least successful console. Yes, but it's a successful console. Cruise doesn't have to be number one to still be $1 trillion company. If they were to actually crack it, they could be maybe not a trillion, but they would be an absolutely ginormous company that would have a clear market advantage out of the gate. But then you have to get them into cars. You have to do it in ways that are cost competitive. And even looking at things like Xbox, it's not just that we have to make a good system. We have to make it in a way that's marketable, that's profitable, and that still meets all the needs. So in that regard, I think he's a pretty good fit.
Okay. So what happened was Whitten is now the new CEO, after the founder left, Cruise leadership was shared between the guy named Mo Ashalnawi and Craig Gilton. Craig Gilton comes from GM, so Gilden will now leave his role leading GM's legal and public policy efforts, and he's going to now be full time on Cruise himself. He will become he began as GM's general counsel in 2015. Dixon, who previously was chief legal officer of another video game maker, Activision, he's going to now replace Gilden. So it looks like that Mary Barra is saying that Marc is a proven technology and business leader with extensive experience in scaling products and building ecosystems. Okay. He'll provide the vision for the... Mm-hmm.
Well, if Mary believes in him, I'm out.
Of course, Mary did. And then Grant Dixon. All right. So Dixon will now take over. So this is it. I mean, yeah, like Dixon said, GM is an iconic company I've always admired. Love Mary. She's my boss. Okay. So that's the news about Cruise. I mean, do you think Cruise has a chance at all of coming back from the dead here, or just regaining its trust with the public, its technology, and right-sizing the ship, all that?
Yes, I do. I don't think they're going to be an everything everywhere solution, but I think for narrow applications, they can do great. Do you want robo-taxis in Dubai or somewhere where it just almost never rains? Maybe Cruise is the solution. Do you want them on closed roads where they're a substitute for maybe buses or trams? It could be a fantastic solution. If everybody who gets to the airport can get on a dedicated road and take a cruise into town, that might be something that they could actually crack and make a good impact on the market by doing. And there, the cost is less critical. The use case is clearer. But I don't see their current path getting them to where they need to be. They don't have, even with the wealth of miles traveled they have, it's not enough training data, not to go everywhere. So I think, yes, they absolutely still have a place in the market. And hopefully they can take the other approach, the opposite approach from Tesla. Tesla's trying to solve the everything at once, and maybe Cruise could take the one piece at a time approach and move forward that way.
Mm-hmm. So, right. So you got Waymo and you got Cruise. They're out there, they're performing, and then Tesla's going to come. We had I did a video yesterday of the Uber, one of the top executives of Uber. I don't remember his name, unfortunately, but he's been there for decades. He was interviewed and he was saying that, he did Waymo, like you're saying, just cost too high. He's protecting Uber, saying that, this is not going to happen. He goes, I've got a 6-year-old, and I always thought that it won't happen until she turns 16. And it's not something that's going to happen for a decade. And he said one of the issues is that Uber has enough cars. You need to have enough coverage so that when somebody calls for it, you're going to get there. And he never talked about Tesla, but Waymo and Cruise he brought up, saying that they just won't have the coverage. What do you think about what he said about Cruise, but also what he said about Tesla, if you assume that he means Tesla as well. Of course he does.
Of course he does. I believe he's absolutely right on Cruise. On Tesla, on the Tesla front, I would have to chew on it a bit more. But really, I'm just getting antsy because I know what our next topic is, and I've got a whole lot to say about it.
Well, the thing about Tesla, right, is that Tesla owns a lot of leased vehicles that they've been accumulating for many years. And so when they release their version of Robotaxi, it's going to come with not only their existing cars, but they, in the future, they'll create their own Robotaxi.
A tidal wave.
And then there's our own cars, Public's cars could be used. My car could be used if I wanted to include a network. So I'm not as worried about Tesla not having enough cars to be able to cover. And you don't need that many, honestly. 100,000 cars can do Chicago. All right, let's talk. The next story here is this construction progress update on these huge fans that Tesla is installing at Giga Texas. So there was these fans here, and it's pretty big, giant if you look at it, because the whole south side of Giga Texas is now going to be used as an entire data center, and you need this to cool it. And the joke obviously is that it looks like just like a GPU card itself with the cooling fans on a GPU card.
Oh, sure.
That's we finally have a flyover.
Yeah, and if you look at these are genuinely gigantic. I challenge you to go anywhere other than a power plant and find cooling towers that big. You might find them at like a iron smelter, but these are ginormous. And what they're doing is, these are not traditional cooling systems. These are their own. When Elon was talking years ago about developing their own HVAC system, this appears to be that. This appears to be the world's largest octavalve.
No.
So yes, that's what I am hearing. And that this cooling system is different than the other ones. It will consume substantially less power while providing the same cooling benefit. Now you see why I'm so excited getting into this segment.
Are you kidding me? Okay.
No.
And if you think about it,
it is. The cost to develop and build this the first time is quite a lot. But if you look at the amount of power you're saving, it's substantial. If you look at the fact that you're not going to have to bring in as much new capacity, that is substantial. And if you look at the energy requirements that Elon has said by the end of the year, 130 megawatts for compute, 500 eventually. 500 megawatts is like a nuclear power plant. Mind you, a small one, like half of a normal sized nuclear power plant. It's like a city of 300,000 or so. It is a genuinely mind-boggling amount of power. I spent 2 days with a coal plant engineer. I spent another 2 days with a nuclear plant engineer, and I got to ask a whole lot of questions, but I couldn't get either of them on camera because they're not allowed to do that. And anytime the questions got too close to talking about their actual power plant, they would shut it down because they're, in some cases, not allowed to for security reasons. But these are huge plants. And I've got a guy working now to determine if the switch yard is actually big enough to pull that much power plus the power for the factory. But if you're using less cooling power and you've got some of your own solar, it's certainly not enough to power something like that. You would need about 1,000 to 3,000 acres of solar just to meet it during peak hours. This cooling, the millions and millions it costs to build, you have to build it anyway, but the extra millions it costs to develop it from your own system could easily be offset by not consuming power. And if this works, this can become its own product that they then sell to others because the engineering is done. It's an octavalve.
Wow. I did not realize, like you're saying, that this is Tesla designed. What I did here, which is funny, if you look at this one here, the number 3 one, you see this big giant poster. That is, I thought the vendor just said, hey, I'm going to put my business card there.
Many vendors do that when once they realize that Joe is flying every day, somebody gets in touch and goes, oh, I saw you're out there working at Texas. So then they'll put up, they'll slap their name on everything so that they can get some free publicity out of the Tesla fan community. And what bigger fans are there than the ones in these turbines?
Sure.
Yeah. So this is very exciting. This is the reason they put it at the factory. Is if you just put it out in the middle of nowhere, there's really no heat to exchange. There's no benefit to moving that heat somewhere else. You're not saving anything. You just need to get it outside and gone. But with this, they can move it around to places it may be needed.
Yeah. Well, this is, again, things like this show you that others, they go, oh, everyone will just catch up. Okay. So are you making your own cooling fans that are very efficient? That's going to be very powerful. That's enough to do this. You know, these are massive, massive cooling fans. And then the question was asked to Elon. He said, you know, somebody said, well, I thought that FSD is already pretty well, no longer compute constrained. And then doesn't it require a lot more? Like, why do you need more data centers like this? And then some guy said, well, for every March of 9, you'll need at least 10 times more data center compute power. And then Elon said, well, not as much as that. But yes, it still requires quite a bit. So that whole section here is whole, right? Have you seen how big the data center is going to be at the South Center?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That expansion is between 600 and 800,000 square feet when you count the floors and mezzanines. So this was already the biggest building in North America, and now it's bigger. So it's a vast amount of space. I think it's very strange that they put windows on it. You would think that would be counterproductive when your objective is cooling, but you know, maybe it just looks cool.
Okay. Big news. All of the 3 stories we covered today really is related to FSD. So you got 12.4 now finally being released. It was delayed, but now getting to employees. You've got Cruise conversation there. They're trying to rearrange kind of the executives, see if they can revive this company, which is still good, right? We want other robotaxi autonomous vehicles. They've paved the way. There's a lot of conversation within Tesla community that actually these Waymo and Cruise has been fantastic for Tesla. They've paved the way. You know, people are getting used to it. They know that the Tesla's not the only one trying to break this crazy, new product. And then you've got this data center. The build of this data is moving fast. You can see it just less than a few days ago. We saw a photo and it was just 3. Now it's like they keep growing, right? How many now they can do. So
yeah, it's very exciting. And Tesla's the only reason Tesla's pushing forward on things is because of competition. Is it? Because I'm checking the rearview mirror and I don't see them.
I don't see them. Thank you so much, Brian. Check him out on his YouTube channel, FutureAza. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.